Breaking news is shaking the NFL like a bomb. Sources confirm that Shedeur Sanders has received a staggering $90 million offer from a rival franchise desperate to acquire Cleveland's most electrifying player. This isn't just a contract negotiation, it's a franchise-altering move. According to multiple insiders with direct knowledge, the unnamed organization prepared an unprecedented package designed to make Sanders' departure inevitable. Guaranteed money approaches $65 million, revolutionary endorsement deals, full offensive control, and approval of his hand-picked coaching staff. The message is clear: leave Cleveland immediately. The timing couldn't possibly devastate the Browns more catastrophically. Sanders is more than a quarterback. He embodies franchise resurrection, cultural transformation, and financial revolution. Jersey sales shattered records, season ticket renewals surged historically, and national media coverage transformed Cleveland from an afterthought into must-watch television. Now, everything could crumble potentially overnight. Jimmy Haslam's reaction reportedly was volcanic. Upon learning about the rival offer, emergency ownership meetings were convened immediately. Panic spread throughout administrative offices like wildfire. This isn't typical free agency maneuvering. Sanders remains under his rookie contract, but creative loopholes, trade demands, holdout threats, and public pressure campaigns make his departure plausible. The unnamed franchise is apparently prepared to do whatever necessary to secure Sanders' services. One executive familiar with negotiations revealed a shocking detail. They're willing to sacrifice multiple first-round picks, plus an established starter. This isn't recruitment, it's a hostile takeover. Everything traces back to Kevin Stefanski's inexplicable decision-making throughout the season. Despite Sanders demonstrating superior talent, generating explosive plays, and energizing the roster, Stefanski stubbornly continued starting Dillon Gabriel. The Ravens game represented the breaking point. National television audiences witnessed the Browns' offense completely implode without Sanders taking meaningful snaps. Baltimore defenders were literally laughing on the sideline, and Ravens coaches openly mocked Cleveland's predictable play calling. Former players tweeted their disbelief while watching dysfunction unfold publicly. Sanders' frustration reportedly reached unprecedented levels following the Ravens' debacle. Sources claim he stormed directly into Stefanski's office demanding an explanation. The conversation allegedly became heated immediately, with Sanders questioning coaching competence and Stefanski defending his systematic approach. Witnesses describe Sanders departing the facility without speaking to teammates, unusual behavior for a typically composed professional. That's when rival executives recognized an opportunity, a franchise quarterback potentially available. Checkbooks opened instantly. The financial package remained staggering, beyond the $90 million space. Incentive structures potentially push the total value above $120 million. Marketing guarantees are worth an additional $30 million, including percentages of merchandise sales, stadium naming rights, influence over media projects and documentary rights. Personal chef, security detail, and private jet access are included. Sanders is receiving treatment typically reserved for proven veterans, not a second-year player. He represents a cultural phenomenon and generational talent packaged perfectly for modern NFL consumption. Inside Cleveland, chaos reigns. Defensive players are furious about the potential departure. Offensive linemen feel personally insulted after protecting Sanders all season. And receivers realize their production plummets without Sanders delivering passes. One veteran leader reportedly said, "If they let him walk, might as well tear everything down." The locker room unity carefully constructed throughout training camp is evaporating rapidly. Players are questioning organizational direction, coaching decisions, ownership, and commitment. Stefanski finds himself navigating an impossible situation entirely so. His insistence on playing Gabriel, despite inferior results, alienated the franchise cornerstone. Now he faces a potential legacy-defining disaster. Lewis Sanders, lose the fan base, lose his job. Assistant coaches privately expressed disbelief regarding Stefanski's rigidity. The offensive coordinator repeatedly advocated Sanders starting but was overruled, while the defensive coordinator grew frustrated watching opponents stack the box against the predictable Gabriel-led offense. Meanwhile, social media erupts. Browns fans experience a collective meltdown. Hashtags about Sanders trend globally within hours. Petitions demanding Stefanski's immediate termination garner 100,000 signatures overnight. Season ticket holders threaten mass cancellations. Corporate sponsors request emergency meetings with ownership. The business implications extend far beyond football operations. Cleveland finally possessed a marketable superstar attracting national attention, and losing Sanders means returning to irrelevance, ridicule, and perpetual dysfunction. Jimmy Haslam's position amid the crisis is precarious. The owner who boldly declared Sanders as starting quarterback on draft night now watches helplessly as the coach undermines organizational vision. Haslam reportedly conducted private meetings with minority owners discussing Stefanski's potential termination. Legal ramifications were examined, buyout costs calculated, and replacement candidates identified. Yet firing the coach mid-season creates additional instability, potentially pushing Sanders toward exit regardless. A no-win scenario is developing rapidly. The rival franchise identity remains secret, but speculation runs rampant. Dallas Cowboys are frequently mentioned given Jerry Jones' propensity for splashy acquisitions. Miami Dolphins, Las Vegas Raiders, and New York Jets are also rumored. Multiple teams compete, driving the price higher through a bidding war. Sanders maintains public silence while his representatives navigate treacherous waters. Social media activity notably decreased following the Ravens game, with training videos stopped and promotional appearances cancelled. The normally accessible quarterback essentially disappeared from public view. Those close to Sanders describe his mindset as deeply contemplative regarding the future. Deion Sanders' influence looms substantially over proceedings. Coach Prime publicly supported him throughout the season, occasionally criticizing Brown's handling through strategic media appearances. Armed with legitimate grievances and potential legal challenges, Sanders' camp possesses leverage, forcing Cleveland's hand. The organization risks a prolonged public battle with the Sanders family. A media circus potentially catastrophic for Brown's reputation. Performance metrics remain crucial despite surrounding drama. Sanders' statistical production is exceptional, completion percentage exceeding 70%, touchdown to interception ratio approaching 4-1, quarterback rating consistently above 100, and explosive play percentage doubling whenever he operated the offense. These are quantifiable proofs of superiority over Gabriel, yet Stefanski ignored the evidence, trusted the system over production, and potentially cost the franchise a generational talent. Veterans around the league watch this situation unfold with fascination and horror. Prominent quarterbacks reportedly reached out privately supporting Sanders' position. They understand coaching, politics, organizational dysfunction, and mismanaged development. One Super Bowl winner allegedly advised Sanders, "Don't waste your prime years waiting for competent leadership. Find an organization that appreciates your value immediately." Such peer validation strengthens Sanders' resolve to potentially depart Cleveland. Despite his emotional attachment, the financial implications for Cleveland extend beyond Sanders' immediate departure. Television ratings would plummet, merchandise sales vanish overnight, corporate partnerships reconsider investments, and stadium attendance could reach historic lows. We're talking hundreds of millions in potential lost revenue across multiple seasons. Meanwhile, whichever franchise acquires Sanders immediately becomes a must-watch television playoff contender and merchandise goldmine. This swing could represent a billion-dollar miscalculation by the Browns' leadership. Coaches across the league are watching as a cautionary tale unfolds publicly. Stubbornness is destroying franchises, ego trumps evaluation, and systems are prioritized over talent. Stefanski's potential downfall serves as a warning. Modern NFL coaches must adapt, recognize special players, and maximize unique skill sets. Those who refuse face professional extinction. Offensive coordinators reportedly discuss Sanders' situation privately during interviews, emphasizing player-first philosophies. Timing is critical. The trade deadline approaches rapidly. Sanders' camp has set a firm timeline for resolution. Either Cleveland commits fully firing Stefanski, guaranteeing Sanders' starting position, and restructuring his contract proactively, or trade discussions begin immediately. There's no middle ground. The relationship is fractured beyond repair. Trust has evaporated. Only decisive action can prevent complete disaster. Yet the Browns historically struggle with difficult decisions, and this organizational weakness may prove fatal. General Manager Andrew Berry navigates an impossibly complex situation. Drafted in the 5th round, Sanders' selection was defended against criticism. But now Berry potentially orchestrates his departure. He's caught between ownership demanding Sanders' retention, coaching staff supporting Gabriel, and a divided locker room. His credibility is damaged regardless of outcome. Keeping Sanders against Stefanski's wishes undermines the coach publicly. While trading Sanders admits a catastrophic evaluation failure, no positive resolution exists for the embattled executive. The city of Cleveland watches in horror as another quarterback controversy threatens a promising season. Fans have experienced decades of quarterback instability, perpetual disappointment, and national embarrassment. Sanders represented a different trajectory. Young, talented, marketable, and successful. All that the Browns desperately needed is now slipping away because the coach refused to acknowledge obvious talent. The psychological damage to the fan base is immeasurable. Trust shattered, hope extinguished, cynicism returning. Player reactions inside the facility reveal fractured dynamics. Offensive stars campaign for Sanders publicly through social media, posting cryptic messages, strategic likes, while defensive stars maintain studied neutrality but privately express frustration over offensive incompetence. Special teams players are awkwardly caught between factions. The brotherhood essential for success is compromised. Winning becomes impossible when the locker room divides fundamentally. Veterans recognize the championship window is closing rapidly without unified purpose. Sanders' potential departure signals organizational dysfunction. League free agents notice instability. Draft prospects hope to avoid Cleveland. Coaches decline interviews. The franchise becomes a career graveyard for ambitious individuals. Reputation requires years to rebuild after such public failure. Teams that successfully develop quarterbacks attract premium talent, while organizations mismanaging generational prospects become cautionary tales. Cleveland is trending rapidly toward the latter category unless immediate intervention occurs. National media coverage intensifies out. Sports networks dedicate segments to the Browns' crisis. Former players offer opinions. Analysts dissect film. Insiders reveal scoops. The story dominates headlines because its implications resonate throughout professional football. Quarterback controversies captivate audiences. But this situation contains every dramatic element imaginable. Generational talent, stubborn coach, desperate owner, divided locker room, rival franchises circling, and massive money involved. Hollywood couldn't script better drama. Sanders' inner circle remains disciplined regarding information leakage. His agent works methodically through options. Lawyers examine contract language. Financial advisors calculate implications. And the marketing team evaluates brand impact. Everyone understands the stakes. This decision shapes the next decade. Minimum. Choose correctly, and Sanders becomes a transcendent superstar. Choose poorly, and prime years are wasted. The $90 million offer represents more than money. It's respect, appreciation, and validation, things Sanders rarely received in Cleveland. Despite producing whenever opportunities arose, coaching skepticism and organizational indecision undermined him. Money talks, but respect screams louder. Sanders deserves both. Cleveland provided neither adequately. Stefanski supporters dwindle rapidly inside the organization. Assistant and position coaches distance themselves strategically. Coordinators quietly prepare resume. Everyone recognizes potential house cleaning if Sanders departs. The unnamed franchise's aggressive pursuit demonstrates the evolution of modern NFL roster construction. Traditional development timelines are abandoned for immediate impact acquisitions. Why draft and develop when proven talent is available due to dysfunction elsewhere? Sanders represents a rare opportunity, a franchise cornerstone without sacrificing draft positioning. Multiple first-round picks may seem expensive until considering a decade plus of elite quarterback play. Championship windows open immediately with transcendent talent. Cleveland media experiences a journalistic feeding frenzy. Beat reporters cultivate sources desperately. Radio hosts debate endlessly. Television personalities choose sides publicly. Coverage intensity reflects civic investment emotionally. The Browns represent more than a football team. They embody the city's identity, pride, and resilience. Losing Sanders would devastate community spirit beyond sport. Local businesses dependent on game day revenue panic. Bars, restaurants, and hotels brace for potential economic crater. Inside Sanders' camp, strategic planning continues methodically. Public statements are crafted carefully, social media is monitored, and legal options are evaluated thoroughly. The approach remains professional despite emotional turmoil. Sanders genuinely wanted Cleveland's success, embraced pressure and responsibility, and was prepared to deliver a championship. But organizational dysfunction proved an insurmountable obstacle. Sometimes talent alone is insufficient to overcome structural incompetence. The resolution approaches inevitably. Either Cleveland makes dramatic changes immediately firing empowering Sanders fully, and restructuring the organization fundamentally, or Sanders departs for a franchise that appreciates his value, maximizes his potential, and allows consistent competition. The middle ground has evaporated. This decision impacts multiple franchises, countless careers, and millions of fans, all because one coach couldn't recognize the obvious talent before him. This situation exemplifies modern NFL complexity perfectly. Talent evaluation matters. Ego management is crucial. Organizational alignment is essential. Financial resources, media relations, and fan engagement are all significant. Missing any element creates vulnerabilities rivals exploit ruthlessly. Cleveland failed in multiple categories simultaneously, creating the perfect storm. Sanders' potential departure is a symptom, not the disease. Dysfunction runs far deeper than the quarterback controversy. The next 72 hours will determine Cleveland's trajectory for at least a decade. Keep Sanders, possibly salvage the season, maintain relevance. Lose Sanders, and disaster is guaranteed, probably a complete rebuild. Ownership faces an existential decision. Back the coach who alienated the franchise quarterback, or support the player who energized the fan base. The choice seems obvious externally, but internally, politics, egos, contracts, relationships, and power dynamics complicate everything. As Thursday approaches, tension escalates exponentially. Sanders is reportedly meeting with ownership directly, bypassing management completely. His demands are clear: Stefanski goes, or Sanders goes. The ultimatum is non-negotiable, delivered respectfully but firmly. Haslam must choose between the coach and the quarterback, between system and talent, between past and future. This decision will define his ownership legacy permanently. The $90 million offer looms ominously. Real money, real opportunity, real respect, everything Sanders deserves but hasn't consistently received. Cleveland has the financial match, but lacks the organizational stability required for retention. Money without structure means nothing. Sanders learned that lesson painfully this season. One thing remains certain: the NFL is watching intensely. This saga sets precedents regarding player empowerment, coaching authority, and ownership involvement. How Cleveland resolves this crisis will impact league-wide dynamics. Players note how stars are treated, coaches observe management support during controversy, owners evaluate boundaries. Everyone is learning from Cleveland's mistakes. The ending approaches rapidly. Someone wins, someone loses. Cleveland hangs precariously in the balance. Sanders holds the cards. Stefanski grasps desperately for salvation. Haslam calculates frantically. Fans pray. Media salivates. Rivals circle. The Browns' future crystallizes within hours. Either a renaissance begins or darkness descends. No middle ground remains.